is the setting for the 10th Congress of the International Academy of Gnathology. We are right in the beautiful Valley of the Sun, a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. This is Scottsdale. And this is the luxurious Camelback Inn, which is the venue for the 1981 Congress. It's one of the finest five-star resort hotels in the country.
Well, good afternoon and welcome. We're here for the 10th Congress of the International Academy of Gnathology, American Section. Why don't you join us today? There are over 500 dentists and their wives from 20 nations and 22 states. Come on along. I think you'll enjoy this Congress.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Nice to see you. That's so fine. Thank you very much. Are you sure that everything is there?
Good morning. Your packet will be around the room in alphabetical order and then bring it back here. We'll check it out. Here. H is over here. M right around the corner.
Dr. Bill McHorris of Memphis, Tennessee, will carry his flag in for him. And that represents, gentlemen, 2,500 members of 5 sections of the International Academy. We're glad to have you here.
This year's opening address is being given by Dr. Jack Hockle of Walnut Creek, California.
In the world. We ask you to bless our work in your service. Please guide us during our meeting. And we thank you for the many gifts you have given us, each other, our families, and our patients. In the name of Christ Jesus, amen.
Dr. Peter K. Thomas of Beverly Hills, California, has a monumental task ahead of him. He's chairman of the Congress and also one of the leading gnathologists in the world.
I'm serious many times, so I'm moving the schedule up 15 minutes because I want everybody to be on time.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. President, Peter, Chairman.
Here's Dr. Victor Lucia from Teaneck, New
share with
Jersey.
you a little something that we've developed over the years that I think may be of interest and of help in your work. As you know, precision attachments, way back 40 years ago, we were trying to use metal bases and attaching the strut separately as a separate piece to the base. Our problem came in when we tried to solder that strut to the base. Heating the base always caused some warpage and never was the same. Now, if you related the base to the fixed work in the mouth, picked that up with an index and then soldered it, put it back in the mouth, you would not see any change. And patients are very tolerant, as you know, and we get away with that. And nothing spoiled my dinner more than to have him complain about his damn denture not fitting or dropping or what have you. So I thought that the next few years I got to live and have to have dinner with him once in a while. I'd try and save these teeth as long as I possibly could. This tooth I took out with my fingers. He's diabetic and he's got all sorts of problems. I took that tooth out with my fingers and...
The hinge joint of the mandible is posterior to
And
the
Dr.
teeth
Bill McHorris
and has a
from
direct
Memphis,
mechanical influence
Tennessee.
consistent to all similar systems. The hinge closure action of the mandible initiates a mechanical force between opposing teeth that results in a mesial or anteriorized drift of the dentition. Because the anterior teeth will not come back to the same place they did at maximum intercuspation. And now my front teeth are not going to have the proper relationship to each other. And lastly, the upper and lower premolars and molars should be able to chop, grind, mash, and mince food into small particles without conflicting contacts between the incisors and cuspids. When the mandible moves in any direction away from the centric relation position, these supporting structures need to make only enough downward vertical movement to separate the back teeth, or to accomplish disclusion. This teamed effort by the condyles and the front teeth results in disclusion of the posterior teeth, and this has been defined as condylar disclusion and anterior tooth disclusion. Stewart pointed out that the best position for lower anterior teeth to resist the mechanical force distributed to them would be to have them at right angles to a radial from the opening and closing axis. In other words, the long axis of the lower incisor should be at 90 degrees to a line tangent to its incisal edge and intersecting the hinge axis of the mandible. Thank you for your attention.
This part of America is a high-growth region, a major center for the electronics industry. Also, Arizona State University is situated in nearby Tempe, and so is Frank Lloyd Wright's School of Architecture. There's a rare combination of conditions in this region. It's a famous agricultural district. It's a treasure house of exotic plants, especially cacti. And in summer, it's scorching hot. The ladies attending the Congress have a chance to enjoy some swimming, or simply take it easy and soak up some sunshine.
Thank you very much, Carlos. It's a great privilege to be here again.
Here's Dr. Eric Martinez-Ross from Mexico.
And it's my pleasure to present you a classification of temporomandibular joint dysfunctions that I have invented. The reason I did this is to facilitate the practitioner, the dentist, to know which type of dysfunction he's dealing with so he can put his patient in that particular category, and according to that he can have all the therapeutic measures applied to his patient and not be lost in so many signs and symptoms.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President.
And Dr. Mario Martigoni from Rome.
Dear Charlie, dear colleagues, dear friends, I don't want really lose any time on say thank you, because we are old friends, we know each other very well, so thanks to be being so kind to invite me once again in this meeting that is one of the most highest level meetings in the world. Now, let me go directly in the program. Then we can talk about different things later, and I will try, I promise, to stay in the limit. No, don't look me like this, Peter, and in the limit of the time. Now, the subject that we are talking today is EMJ. It's not a new subject, and I think that every dentist has something to say about EMJ. physiologically, I mean, he must to follow the anatomy. And look at the difference between this side and that side. And you will see much more in the next case. We can see a mechanical system that is inside, in the muscles. All the muscles are around. Now, that is a superior slice, superior cut, always in right lateral. And now you can see that this condyle is engaged in the frame. Is engaged in the frame. The other condyle, the non-working side, is against the inner wall of the fossa.
The opening event of the Congress this year is the traditional one organized by the Mexican delegates. This goes back to 1963, when the Mexicans hosted the first Congress. Naturally, this event has a Mexican theme. In fact, all the presentations by the 5 sections of the Academy have a regional theme. It's a time for making new friends and renewing old ones. It's a time for swapping stories and learning something new from all over the world. Here's the end of the performance put on by the European section. The group are closing with a rousing chorus accompanied on the piano by Dr. Carlo Di Chiesa from Saluzzo, Italy. Following this, Dr. Hiroshi Muraoka is billed as the star of the Asian section's performance. Mrs. Ronaldo Todescan from Sao Paulo, Brazil, has produced this spectacular event for the Latin American section. It features regional folk dances performed by the group, who are wearing typical costume and are accompanied with rhythmical Latin music.
For all of you, our love.
And to wind up the evening with something a little closer to Arizona is a country western trio from the American section. Along with some good old square dancing. And that's the first day of the Congress, and the festive atmosphere is already at a peak, and the Congress is 4 days long. A sunrise over Arizona is a sight worth getting up early for. It marks the beginning of another day at the Congress. The nearby mountain looks like a camel's back. Hence, we are at the Camelback Hotel. here's Dr. Frank Silenza from Manhasset, New York.
We have joint receptors, we have muscle receptors, we have tendon receptors, and we have perigonal ligament receptors. And from a neurophysiological standpoint, if we would understand how these mechanisms work, we might be able to come up with an answer on why it is we have teeth, at least from a neurophysiological standpoint.
I kind of envy all of you.
And here's Dr. Axel Bauer from Düsseldorf, West Germany.
As you know, I'm of Germany, and it's sad enough you don't speak German, so I have to give my little lecture in English. I would like to thank our president, Dr. Eller, and our chairman, Peter K. Thomas, for inviting me to give this little lecture of mine. Quarter and the pantograph. This was a miniature given to him by a German colleague of ours in gold. Every little part is moving. Charlie was beside of me, just a meter away from me when I took this picture. It didn't give it to me. But there are good instruments, good tools on the market. If I'm not able to make a panographic recording, improving of systems. We know the aiming. We know where we go. We know what is good and what is bad. This is no discussion. But the procedure always will be discussed. We have new techniques, new tools. And so what is the future, or what might be the future? And so we get in a lot of arguments.
And here's Dr. Tom Buster from Cupertino, California.
Those of us in this room who've been doing gnathology for any length of time grew up with the idea that centric relation is the rearmost, uppermost.
Thank you very much, Judd.
And here's Dr. Terry Tanaka from Cola Vista, California.
You guys just don't know when you've had enough. The subject I picked today, though, however, is a topic slightly different from the two. Is that better? It's louder, but it's not better, right?
Each day, the schedule of the Congress is very carefully coordinated. Here's an editor's luncheon, which will result in a draft for the very first journal of the Academy. Publication is being taken care of by the Asian section.
I think for finding flight in India.
A fashion show is a favorite for the ladies. Such an event provides a pleasant interlude between a morning of lectures and an afternoon of clinical studies.
Biltmore Fashion Park would like to welcome you to International Fashion Focus.
And yet it seems that some former recipients of the McCullum Award have managed to get into the show.
Dr. Clyde Shepard. Carlos Ripoll.
The Congress is really a participatory learning experience for all. Many special events are arranged for doctors' wives. This is another of the unusual features of the Academy's congresses. And to encourage their presence, the doctors face no extra expense if accompanied by wives. to the evening's events, delegates and guests engage in get-togethers. Here's Dr. and Mrs. Harry Gelfand from Canada extending a friendly greeting to their arriving guests. One pleasant surprise this year was the glorious party organized by the Japanese section and hosted by Dr. Sumiya Hobo. This party was put on for the directors and officers of all 5 sections of the Academy. It turned out to be a fine example of gracious Japanese-style hospitality.
Delicious. We love it. Thank you.
Let's do the beer ceremony again, okay? Put it.
Does it remind you Japan? Yes, tea ceremony. Did you enjoy the tea ceremony?
Yes. Very nice.
Yes, it's quite different.
The details of the social events are not known until they take place. There are always surprises like this. Scottish Highlander style bagpipers play for the parade of the chefs.
Mrs. Gaudia from Buenos Aires. Pleasure having you with us, I'm sure. That's a long way to fly. I think that's something like a 17-hour flight. Is that correct?
It's an established tradition for the president of the Latin American section to kiss the ladies, but only those who have traveled the furthest to the Congress. Just one from each section. Dr. Carlos Ripoll seems to be enjoying his duty this year.
Carlos, thank you very much.
Big name entertainment is often another surprise at the social events. Performers who have entertained at earlier congresses include world-famous artists. The main aim of the Congress is to promote the development of Gnathology among all members of the Academy. This is achieved by bringing together many of the world's most knowledgeable specialists, professors and clinicians who pass on their research findings to other members of the Academy. This year, the agenda includes 27 lectures and 63 table clinics. The clinics are especially important for the doctors because they provide an opportunity for informal conference on many technical procedures.
I must have a little distance between the censoring system and the reflecting system.
Fellows, they expect the old man to do everything, haven't they?
You're the only one's got any brain.
I doubt that. I'll tell you, Jack's probably the brains, I wouldn't be in here. Now,
no, okay, let's go back.
I want to explain this a little bit. but I don't have any cast mounted here, you see. And if I had cast mounted, the mounted centric was the regular way. And then you
talked about a couple of years ago, so that's confusing. We are calling centric occlusion, and this is, he could give this well as I could. No. You were forced to sit there through it, weren't you?
The history of the Academy goes back to 1926, when Doctors McCullum, Stewart, and Stallard founded the Gnathological Society of California. Gradually, the activities of the society spread throughout the United States, leading up to the formation of the 36 American study groups. That was back in 1963. The society held its first Congress in Mexico City, which was organized by the Mexican Study Group. 35 delegates attended this first Congress, and it was followed up 2 years later with another Congress in San Diego, California, to which 128 delegates attended. Also, the Society's membership was becoming international, and it was therefore necessary to change the title of the organization to that of the International Academy of Gnathology, as it is today. From its outset, the Society, and then, later, the Academy, has maintained a democratic spirit towards its membership. This meant that anyone with an interest in the science of gnathology could become a member. Also, a liberal policy was adopted towards the character of the Congress meetings. They were to be social occasions as well as educational. Something more than just another Congress. A year after its formal organization as an international academy, the European, Latin American, and Australian sections were founded. At the present time, there are 5 sections in the academy. And although they operate as separate organizations, there is much cooperation between them.
So either in 10 seconds you can mount.
One future aim of the Academy is to set up teaching faculties in association with major universities. This will provide training and specialist education in gnathology for practitioners and teachers. An Arizona sunset makes a fine setting for a social evening. It starts with an old-fashioned barbecue. Charcoal grilled steaks coming up. And there's country western music. And dancing, too.
Football's still the toughest thing on campus. And the kids here still respect the college team. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee. Place where even
There's writing in the sky. International Academy of Gnathology. A handshake around the world.
White lightning's still the biggest thrill of all.
The Congress site has been used in the past for the filming of many cowboy movies. And now the doctors and their wives seem to be keen on making just one more.
White punch of him!
Devil whiskey, partner.
Coming up, partner. Coming up, partner. Quick fake, good friend, partner. Thank you, sir. Thank you, cowboy.
How about a drink? How about buying a drink before I put you to bed?
Coming up, 2 beers. Coming up, 2 beers, Sheriff. Sheriff of Gnathology. 2 beers, quick pay, Sheriff. Gnathology, quick pay. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for the tip, Sheriff.
In the time available this morning, we will attempt to
Here's Dr. Solnit of Los Angeles, California.
Of the Pantronic microprocessor and computer, and to describe the experiment designed for making a comparative study of computer readouts for setting a fully adjustable articulator, with recordings obtained from manual recordings of jaw border movements. The comparative study includes the following steps. 1. A computer readout of numerical values for setting the fossa assembly adjustments on the articulator. 2. Making the prescribed series of articulator settings. 3. Performing a manual pantograph tracing of the patient's border movements and a protrusive excursion. 4. To transfer the pantograph with the tracings to the preset articulator executed by the patient. And 5. By moving the preset articulator through the border movements and protrusive excursions, then determine if the style I traced the manual recordings as dictated by the articulator settings from the microcomputer. You see the lower bow assembly and the sensor arms, which will give us the information by having the plates press against these sensors and moving these out. And we have the printout. Now, looking at the right screen, you will see that there is a right lateral movement, a left lateral movement, and a protrusive. We must progress in this order as we take our pantographic tracings.
And Dr. Charles E. Stewart of Ventura, California.
I am very honored and pleased to be here, as you well know. I cannot take the time to compliment everyone on the program and their presentation. But I can assure you that after you hear me, you will be as confused as a little boy that lost his chewing gum in the hen house. I have a written script here of some length, and I will am forced to eliminate some of it because it might be a little caustic, you know. And I am only supposed to be very kindly in my criticism. And but I want to tell you that there were 2 great gentlemen in my life, and will this thing work now? Okay, if we can have the lights out. And I was the only one, and he asked me to come down there 3 days a week. That's about 12 days a month, you know? And Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Well, you know, everybody left, and Dr. McCullough says, "Don't you worry, Charlie. We'll just keep on working, and we'll learn something." And I'll be damned if we didn't. If we pursue the synonyms further, they are sensuous and seductive. No wonder the great delight that comes to the masticatory system when the empty mouth eccentric diagnostic test is referred to the anterior teeth anterior to the genial tubercle. Maybe the early anatomists who named this outgrowth of bone on the lingual surface of the symphysis menti knew something about its strategic position and the proper eccentric disclusion of the gnathic system.
Happy birthday, dear Charles. Happy birthday to you. May God bless you, Charlie, with best of health. May you be with us for another 100 years. We all need you. I need you. Dentistry needs you. Blessings forever with much love.
Thank you.
The grand farewell banquet and ball takes place on the last evening of the Congress. This is dining and dancing in one of the finest settings possible. Mrs. Stewart, as well as all the others, seem to be enjoying it immensely. It's the finale to the Congress. 4 days of learning, social activity, and friendship. Another climax to the Congress is the presentation of the Academy's award. It's the Dr. B.B. McCullum Gold Medallion. As the inscription on the medallion states, it's presented to the doctor whose contribution and professional achievements in the advancement of dentistry exemplify the objectives of the International Academy of Gnathology. The award was made jointly at this Congress to Dr. Max Kornfeld of St. Louis, Missouri, and Dr. Victor Lucia of Teaneck, New Jersey.
My friend, your friend. Max was born in 1904, September the 30th. He graduated from the University of Washington in 1924 in St. Louis. The award, the B.B. McCullum Award. This award I'm giving to Max and his beautiful wife, Ruth, who's in heaven. They have been married for over 50 years. I was invited to their 50th anniversary, and I was just leaving for Greece, and I couldn't make it. And this 50th anniversary, when I came back, God called Ruth to his home. Max, with greatest of pleasure, your contributions of your great books that you have written